What's going on, YouTube? Bacon here, bringing you another video. This one's going to be our week 4 match going up against Lapis, or Lapis. I'm not actually sure how you say it. She's actually one of the captains for, co-captains for the DPL team Rising Phoenix. She's a very good player, of course. She's definitely played in a lot of leagues to this point, and people will know her obviously more than they know me. But anyways, looking here at week 4, definitely a very interesting matchup on tap here. We're coming into this game sitting at 2-1, so definitely want to make that 3-1 if we can. I believe Lapis was also coming in at 2-1 if I'm not mistaken. So big game for both of us, of course, at this point in the season, kind of at the halfway point here in week 4. Very kind of gross matchup on tap here. She's built a really nice stall team, to be honest. Not that I like stall at all, or like facing it, but she's definitely built a really nice nice team. So let's get into the roster. She's got Clefable, Zapdos, Skarmory, Hippowdon, Dugtrio, Amoonguss, Mega Slowbro, Chansey, Mega Sableye, Moltres, and Avalugg. So I think this is the first time this has come up, but in MWPA this season you are allowed to draft 2 Megas if you so chose. You obviously can't bring both of them Mega, or can't Mega Evolve both of them anyways, and they're only allowed to be carrying their Mega Stone, so they can't run like normal Slowbro with an item or anything like that. She has to be running Mega Slowbro if she's running it. Doesn't mean she has to Mega Evolve it, just means she has to be carrying the stone. Regardless though, like I said, very well built stall team as far as stall teams go. Like you got the Unaware Wall and Clefable. Pressure stall variants of Zapdos and Moltres are an option on stall, which is kind of scary. And they also have a decent offensive presence as well. I feel like the only way you can get away with building stall and draft is to have some kind of offensive presence on your team. She's got Zapdos and Moltres that can kind of help with that at least. And Dugtrio obviously is a very difficult offensive trapper to deal with. Definitely have to watch out with my Zeraora if it wants to be trying to trap that for sure. Choice Scarf Dugtrio could definitely make sense for me, again, to trap the Zeraora. Otherwise, it's not really going to do a very good job with that unless she's like Focus Sash or something and has a good way of denying my rocks. Because she didn't end up bringing Mega Sableye, which is amazing for me, I'm able to potentially break a Focus Sash if I get up my Stealth Rocks this game. So Stealth Rocks definitely going to be very important. Not having the Mega Sableye on the other side of the field makes that a lot easier. She's obviously got a multitude of defogging options on her team. Zapdos, Moltres, Skarmory all get defog. Avalugg gets Rapid Spin if she happened to bring any of those. But definitely keeping rocks up in this game is going to be really nice to pressure the Zapdos, pressure the Moltres upon switch in. The Moltres is actually a very, very big problem for my team because my rock type is not neutral, or is neutral to flying. So definitely going to have some big issues with the Moltres for sure. Very scary bring on her end. Just kind of like a Z Hurricane Moltres is just incredibly difficult for my team to deal with. They can come in on Mega Venusaur predicting a grass type move and just launch a Z Hurricane and kind of nuke something on my team. So definitely have to be very careful around that thing. But otherwise, I feel like, again, stall is difficult to run in draft just because everybody knows it's coming, so you can kind of prep for it. And obviously, I've done so. But still, one of the most well-built stall teams that I've seen in the format, for sure. Very scary to deal with. That being said, let's get into my team builder for this one. We're leading off here with Zeraora, running Shed Shell with Plasma Fist, Drain Punch, Fire Punch, and Bulk Up. Running pretty close to running max attack with a Jolly Nature. I only needed a little bit of speed because I did obviously want to make sure I outsped the Dugtrio, barring Choice Scarf. Like I said, I think she would probably bring Choice Scarf versus me to trap the Zeraora, but I wasn't certain. But that does still allow me to run a good bit of bulk on the Zeraora, which is nice in combination with Bulk Up. Potentially get some boosts up and start blasting through her team. Obviously, I do big damage to things like Moltres, which is nice. Zapdos really can't touch me too much unless it's carrying like Toxic, which could be somewhat problematic, but getting Bulk Ups off versus her team is going to be really nice for me, especially because it's going to increase my physical defense stat. So if she is running a Choice Scarf variant of Dugtrio, she might have a more difficult time revenge killing me. I can get some HP back with Drain Punch, that kind of thing. So I felt like I kind of had to run Shed Shell this week. I could have run Shookaberry, I guess, as another option, but I wanted kind of the always able to get out of Dugtrio as opposed to just sometimes get out of Dugtrio. So that was kind of the idea with the Zeraora there. Next up, we got Balto, the Mega Venusaur, running Synthesis, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and Growth. Actually running Max HP, Max Special Attack, Modest Nature, Mega Venusaur. So I didn't really need to run any speed on this thing because there's really nothing to creep down here. But Mega Venusaur offensively actually puts a lot of pressure on her team. Like I mentioned, kind of her best idea to switch into this thing would be something like her Moltres or maybe her Zapdos, predicting me to go for a Grass type move. Zapdos doesn't really do a ton back to me anyways, unless she's carrying like Z Air Cutter or something. So I was kind of expecting Moltres to be the primary switch into Mega Venusaur in this game to try and come in on a grass type move, and then just, like I said, Z Hurricane nukes my entire team. Like, I have no switch-ins to Z Hurricane. I have a Celesteela on my team, but like obviously it's weak to fire, so she probably could bring an offensive variant of Moltres and really put a lot of pressure on my Venusaur. But if I can catch that thing on the switch with Sludge Bomb, if I get rocks up, it's gonna take 50% off it every time. Put it in range of a neutral, modest Sludge Bomb from my Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur's special attack stat tends to go pretty unnoticed because most of the time you're just investing in its defenses. But in this matchup, it's actually able to hit pretty hard. I think it's base 125, 122 special attack for Mega Venusaur, so definitely no slouch. And with the growth boost, I should be able to break through some stuff. I can set up on things like the Mega Sableye. I can kind of set up in front of the Mega Slowbro. Like, I do outspeed it, so I should be able to go +1 and then go for a Giga Drain and knock that thing out, unless she's carrying a ton of special defense investment or is running Calm Mind. But otherwise, Mega Venusaur can pretty much set up on some of her walls here, things like a Powdon. I'm not super scared of what like Dugtrio might want to do to me, for instance, as well. I always have Synthesis in the back as well if I'm taking a little bit too much chip damage. But growth in this game I think is really nice. It also allows me to beat the Amoonguss 1v1, which that's always an interesting 1v1 when Mega Venusaur was UU for a hot second. It was always a very interesting 1v1 with Mega Venusaur plus Amoonguss, because some variants of Amoonguss can be designed to beat Mega Venusaur, or standard Mega Venusaur sets. But some variants of Amoonguss didn't, and like you had to kind of figure out which was which. In this case, I should be able to beat Amoonguss by just growthing up in its face and then blowing it away with a Sludge Bomb eventually. Next up here is Frogchamp the Greninja, running Metronome Greninja, with of course Torrent Ability, Scald, Dark Pulse, Taunt, and Spikes. I really felt like hazards were going to be pretty important in this matchup if I could manage to get them up. Getting up Spikes on this team is going to be really nice to wear down some of the walls. If she happened to bring like a Powdon to deal with my Zeraora, getting Spikes up would be really nice. Taunt is just kind of a general way versus stall team to prevent her from defogging. Like if she goes into Zapdos as I Spike, I can taunt that thing, prevent it from defogging, subbing, toxicking, whatever it wants to do, and kind of deal with it that way. Especially because my Mega Venusaur is kind of such an obvious switch into Zapdos, or my Gligar for that matter. I feel like Taunt would be a pretty decent play in that instance if a little bit aggressive. But Taunt obviously shuts down things like Clefable from coming in and wishing to things and such. And if I am Metronome boosting my Scalds versus that thing, unless she's running like Spadef Clefable, I'll be able to kind of eventually break through that with Greninja, as long as I play it a little bit aggressively. Dark Pulse is also nice to kind of spam burst her team. She doesn't have great Dark Resist. Does she have any Dark Resists? No. I mean, Chansey's there, obviously, is a problem for my Greninja, but again, I can just kind of taunt that thing and just keep blasting it with Dark Pulse, try to get some flinches, whatever. Keep it low, at least, for the rest of my team to deal with it. Kind of an interesting Greninja set in this one. Getting a Scald Burn on something like Mega Sableye would be really nice for me if I can manage to land one of those. But otherwise, Greninja's not like insanely important in this game. I just felt like the idea of getting Spikes up versus team would be really useful. Kind of neutralize a little bit of Amoonguss's Regenerator, make sure Focus Sashes are broken on things like Dugtrio and things like that. So that's the Greninja set for this match. Next up here is Very Good Boy the Arcanine, running Life Orb with Flash Fire, Flare Blitz, Wild Charge, Extreme Speed, and Morning Sun. Running Max Attack, Jolly Nature. I was hoping this could kind of not catch the Moltres off guard, but at least gives me some kind of fire type move switch in. So if I am predicting her to go for Flamethrower or Fire Blast, I can get my Arcanine in and start to fire off Wild Charges versus her team. With my speed investment, I do outspeed Moltres unless she is running a Choice Scarf variant. I kind of liked offensive Arcanine in this match. Even if it gets trapped by Dugtrio, Life Orb Extreme Speed does a crazy amount of damage because Dugtrio has like no bulk whatsoever. So I think Life Orb Extreme Speed was doing something like 70 or 75%. It's been a while since I played this game and ran all those calcs. But if I could get like just Rocks plus Spikes up, for example, that's potentially going to put the Dugtrio in range of extreme Speed, or at least make sure after I get the Extreme Speed damage off that she can't bring it back in later in the game on hazard. So I like the Arcanine set in this game. Clicking Flare Blitz is kind of spammable versus this team, bar the fact that like if Chansey comes in, it's going to do a ton of HP damage back to me. I guess really anything coming in is going to do a bunch of HP damage back to me. But if Arcanine can break one thing, like I'll take that trade. Because versus Stall, once you break one thing, you can start to kind of whittle down the rest of the pieces. Because it really is, you have to play very aggressively when you play Stall. For one, if you're going to play Stall, and for two, once you start to lose members of the team, the whole network kind of disappears. So that's kind of the hope with Arcanine, is I can bust through something like Clefable. I should be able to KO that thing with Life Orb Flare Blitz. if I can bust through something like that, I'll have a chance to kind of clean up later in this game as some of the pieces start to fall. So that's the idea from the Arcanine here. And yeah, offensive in this matchup I thought was pretty good. Next up, we've got very walled by Mega Sableye Gligar set, so I'm very glad that she didn't elect to bring it. We're running Gligar here with Stealth Rock, Roost, Taunt, and Toxic, so literally no attacks on this Gligar. The idea is I can Toxic things like the Zapdos coming in on me, potentially. If she thinks I'm just going to set up Stealth Rocks, I can fire off a Toxic, catch that thing on the switch in, also potentially catch the Moltres on the switch in. Those are two of the bigger threats to my team, I think, especially the Moltres, so getting a Toxic off on that would be really nice for me. Once I get a Toxic off on the Moltres, I can essentially just Roost spam in front of it, because I am pretty specially defensive on this Gligar set. That allows me to take hits from Zapdos, allows me to take hits from Moltres to some extent. So if I get a Toxic off on that thing as it switches in, I can basically just spam Roost in its face until it's dead. And Taunt obviously will stop her from roosting or subbing or whatever, defogging from anything. So I liked the Gligar set in this one. I can particularly taunt the Skarmory. Once I taunt that, it really can't do anything to me. I can get up my Stealth Rocks and just switch out into something like my Arcanine and start to pressure her that way. So I think the Gligar set's really good, but again, bar the Mega Sableye coming. Thankfully, it did not end up coming. Makes Gligar look a lot better in this matchup. So that's the Gligar set for this one. And finally here, we have Dwayne the Terrakion, running Rocky MZ Terrakion with Swords Dance, Stone Edge, Close Combat, and Substitute. Running Max Attack, Jolly Nature. I believe this is enough speed to outspeed her Zapdos, guaranteed, if she happened to be running an offensive variant of that. I feel like I kind of needed this offensive check to Moltres and Zapdos on this team. I know she's got Hippowdon, I know she's got like potential for Unaware Clefable, she's got Skarmory, whatever. Like those are all problematic, yes. But if she's not carrying Iron Head on her Skarmory, I can still beat that thing 1v1. If she is running Unaware Clefable, I believe Z Stone Edge into Stone Edge kills it. So she'd have to spam like Soft Boiled in my face, or no, it doesn't get Soft Boiled once in a while. She'd have to spam Moonlight in my face or something like that. But if I like predict a switch into Clefable, although I don't think she should go hard Clefable on Terrakion, and go for the Z Stone Edge, I can Stone Edge and KO it afterwards. Again, assuming she's unaware. If she's Magic Guard, plus 2 Z Stone Edge, blows that thing out of the water. So I feel like Terrakion can definitely break in this game. Hippowdon is somewhat problematic. I do need to get some chip off on that. That's another thing that spikes are really nice for. But Gligar could potentially Toxic it, Taunt it, prevent it from healing up, things like that. And Terrakion definitely has an opening in this game. It's just going to be kind of difficult for me to manufacture it. Again, very glad that she didn't end up bringing the Mega Sableye. I don't have to play games with that. Substitute was mostly for like if she was running kind of knockoff Will-O-Wisp, protect, recover kind of thing on Mega Sableye or fake out recover. I could potentially have subbed up on a set like that. I don't know if she would have run that if she had brought Mega Sableye, but that's the Terrakion set. One more note before we get into the game. Unfortunately, when we had originally scheduled to play this game, I was sick the day of. So we had to kind of postpone a little bit. And in the time that we postponed, I actually made a trade. I ended up trading Latios and Necrozma for Mew and Mamoswine. I traded with Avon, I think, for that trade. And unfortunately, the dock was already updated before we ended up playing. It wasn't updated before our original game because I hadn't made the trades yet. But it was updated when we actually went to play the game. And I guess she hadn't built yet. And then assumed that the team that was on the dock was my team for this game. So she actually didn't know that I still had I actually also dropped Gligar for Goodra at that stage when I made that trade. So she actually didn't know that I still had my old team for this one. She thought I had my new team. So I think otherwise the prep would have been very different for sure. So that's definitely a little bit of an asterisk on this game. I just wanted to let you guys know that ahead of time, that she didn't know that I had Gligar, Latios, and Necrozma available to me for this one. She thought it would be Goodra, Mew, and Mamoswine. So just a heads up on that before we get started, but let's get into the match here. Looking at her team, she brought Dugtrio, Zapdos, Mega Slowbro, Amoonguss, Clefable, and Moltres. Definitely still something that I think she could have brought, assuming that I would have had my old team. Like, even if she thought I had my old team, this is still definitely something, as I do, I guess. Even if she knew that, this is definitely still something she could have brought. She still could have foregone the Mega Sableye, I'm not really sure. But the fact that she did forego Mega Sableye in this build, regardless of whether it was because it was the old team or whether she would have brought it anyways, I Gligar is super good now, super freed up to kind of spam Toxic versus her team. I can taunt things like the Amoonguss, prevent it from sporing, prevent the Clefable from passing wishes to things, get up my Stealth Rocks, and really pressure that Zapdos and Moltres over the course of the game. So that's really kind of right off the bat going to be my plan here, is lead with Gligar. It pretty much beats everything at lead. Like, even just getting a Toxic off on Slowbro would be really nice for me. So that's exactly what I'm going to do, is lead with Gligar here. I'm not really sure what she'd want to lead with. I guess there's potential for her to lead with something like Moltres right off the bat to try and pressure my team. But again, I could just kind of Toxic that thing. If it's a sub-variant of Moltres, that gets a little bit scary because my Gligar obviously doesn't have any attacks. But hopefully I can get a Toxic off on that thing at the beginning of the game here, and that's kind of my plan. So leading off with the Gligar here, she actually elects to lead with Amoonguss, I believe, in this instance. Versus this team, like I mentioned, Taunt is really free to kind of lead off the match. I don't want Amoonguss to spore anything, particularly not this Gligar right off the bat, so I'm going to go for Taunt as she goes out into the Slowbro. That's fine by me, at least I know the Slowbro can't kind of Calm Mind in my face or anything. I don't think she'd be carrying Ice Beam this match. She definitely should be carrying like Dual Stab plus Calm Mind, maybe Recover, or Slack Off rather, on the Slowbro, so I don't think she'd be carrying Ice Beam in this one. So I'm just going to take that as an opportunity to get a Toxic off on the Slowbro. I don't super mind being burnt because I have no attacks. So I was perfectly willing to take that trade, just get the Toxic off. Unless she's running like Heal Bell on her Clefable, which I can taunt, that Toxic is going to be here to stay, and that's really nice on the Slowbro. So I'm going to get my Stealth Rocks up here. Again, fortunately do not get burned by the Scald. I don't have any attacks, like I said, but even the Scald burn residual damage would be kind of annoying for me. Thankfully able to avoid getting those Scald burns there. So here I'm just going to roost up because like Gligar's either pretty much dead or she's going to go for a Recover or switch out or something. So I'm going to go for a roost here and see what she wants to do. She goes for another Scald, and again, unfortunately does not get the burn. So 3 Scalds, you would expect her to get a burn at that point, but she did not. Definitely bad luck there for Lapis. But again, I'm just going to be perfectly content to spam roost here with my Gligar, able to force that Slowbro out because of the Toxic chip racking up. And the Amoonguss comes back in. So same deal as last time. I really just don't want this thing sporing anything. I could go hard Mega Venusaur if I want to, but I don't really know what... Oh, I did go Mega Venusaur. I don't know what I'm talking about. Again, a long time ago that this game was played. But anyways, went hard Venusaur as the Slowbro came back out. I think she was probably predicting another taunt there, getting the Slowbro in, which would have been a good play. I went out to Mega Venusaur, not predicting the Slowbro to come in, but just kind of getting lucky that it happened too. And obviously I threatened that thing with a Giga Drain, but I really don't lose anything from clicking Sludge Bomb this turn. Either I get big damage off on the Slowbro, which is already Toxic, or she's bringing in Moltres right now as she does. And that's a huge, huge get for me, able to knock out that Moltres with the Sludge Bomb. This is, again, pretty much the reason that I was modest Venusaur, is that I could punish the birds coming in on Sludge Bomb and do some huge damage, potentially snag a poison on them. In that case, it worked out really well. Got rid of pretty much the biggest threat to my team, I think, which was that Moltres. So Amoonguss comes out here, and I'm just going to Growth Up in its face. Again, this is designed to beat Amoonguss 1v1. She actually reveals a Foul Play, though. And at the time that we were playing this game, I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll just keep boosting my special attack, you know, kind of deal. But Foul Play, obviously, I'm boosting my attack as I boost my special attack. So not necessarily the best way to beat Foul Play Amoonguss, but a very cool set on her part. Regardless, I go for Sludge Bomb here, just kind of gauge damage on the Amoonguss. She makes a very aggressive play and tries to get her Zapdos in that turn. Doesn't work out too well, as the Zapdos also goes down to a Sludge Bomb there. So potentially more offensive variant. I can't remember that calc off the top of my head, how much I was supposed to be doing, but it was huge getting rid of the Zapdos as well. So the 2 birds gone, amazing for my team. Slowbro comes back out here, has to Mega Evolve to try and eat this hit. It fails to, as I go for Giga Drain there and blow away the Slowbro. And Mega Venusaur doing work on this team, already picking up 3 KOs, and she really doesn't have a great way of revenge killing this. She kind of has to go out to Amoonguss here, which I'm going to be able to gauge damage, like I said, with Sludge Bomb here. Turns out she's running AV Amoonguss, otherwise that would have done a lot more damage. Like I said, I am modest max special attack, and I'm +1. So that Sludge Bomb's going to do a decent chunk of damage as she hits me with another Foul Play. Just going to Synthesis up here because I did get crit that turn, so I was like, okay, I want to be as healthy as possible with this Amoonguss. I can Growth Up a little bit more in its face and do some big damage. Again, at the time, I was thinking, oh, I'm just growthing to boost my special attack, but in growthing, I'm also increasing my physical attack. So for a brief moment, I was like, wait a minute, did I count this wrong? Like, is this weirdly Spadef Amoonguss with Metronome or something? Why is this Foul Play, like, doing more damage to me now? I was very confused at the time. It was only kind of afterwards, looking at the replay, I was like, oh, I was boosting my physical attack with my special attack. so I foul play was doing more damage. Still not doing a ton though, so like I can keep growing up. I think I just need one more boost to knock this Amoonguss out from the range it's at, which is kind of my goal here. I want to be able to kind of synthesis up after this next foul play, get myself back to a reasonable amount of HP, and then blow it away with a Sludge Bomb. So that's more or less the plan here. I'm going to go for synthesis this turn. She goes for another foul play. I can't remember if I go for the second synthesis just to get back to full. Honestly, again, a long time ago since I played this match, but I think I just go for the I did just go for the Sludge Bomb. So I was kind of sitting here thinking like, okay, I'm out of range of Ground EMZ from the Doug Trio, I believe. Maybe not out of range of Doug Trio, but if it is Ground EMZ as opposed to Choice Scarf, that's fine by me. So Doug Trio comes out here, I'm like, big deal, like I'm just gonna go for Giga Drain here. Turns out she's actually Final Gambit, so it looks like probably Scarf Doug Trio would be my guess with Final Gambit. Really cool prep on her end, bringing the Final Gambit there to trap my Venusaur, presumably to trap my Venusaur, I'm not really sure. But definitely cool prep, but again, kind of wasted by the fact that she didn't know that I had my old team here. So able to pretty much be in a good spot here with Gligar. I actually see the Rocks damage come off from the Clefable here, so I know it's unaware and not Magic Guard, which means once I land a Toxic on it, this game is basically on a timer. Gligar beats this 1v1 because I do have Taunt, and I'm pretty, again, specially defensive, so she has the Protect here. She'll probably Wish Protect on her Clefable with Moonblast, maybe Heal Bell, not really sure, but either way, that's not going to be able to beat my set because I do have Taunt. So just going to go for Toxic here, land it on the Clefable, and then proceed to Taunt it. Unfortunately, like I said, don't have any attacking moves on this Gligar. I suppose I could accelerate things a little bit by going out into Arcanine, but I do 100% win this game if I just kind of spam Roost in front of this Clefable when it's not taunted, taunt it when it is taunted, and then taunt it when it's not taunted, more or less. So I'm going to speed it up for that. You guys don't really need to see all the gory detail of this, but back and forth with the Clefable, just Toxic, Roost a bunch as it's taunted, and then taunt it one last time before it goes down. Again, I'm not BMing here or anything, I just don't have any attacks on this Gligar, and I guaranteed win by just spamming the combination of Taunt and Roost at this point. So, again, taunt her just to prevent her from going for Heal Bell or anything like that, but at this point the game is pretty much won. So, just going to spam Roost a couple more times. Unfortunately, she's not going to die for Toxic for a couple turns, but we are able to pick up the 5-0 win against Lapis here. Again, really kind of sucks that the doc had already been updated by the time she went to prep for the game. Really unfortunate. I would have liked to get a cleaner game out of it. But I do feel like my prep was still pretty good. I don't know if she would have brought the Mega Sableye if she had known what my new team was. Like, I had less Psychic types than I did before, so if she wasn't incentivized to bring it against my old team, she may not have been incentivized to bring it against this one. I'll never know for sure, probably, but yeah, a good game to Lapis. Again, very sorry that the doc got updated ahead of time for whatever reason. But yeah, we're going to pick up that win and proceed to 3-1 on the season. Definitely a very good start for us, picking up a win against a very good player. Again, stall and draft is just very difficult to build with. Great stall team, like very good stall team that she's drafted here, but I don't think it's very viable in draft. And I think in her YouTube draft analysis for this, she kind of commented on like, oh, I'm just drafting stall for kind of the meme, because she's like definitely good enough to have been put in Mercury, but I think KMJ just wanted to start her off in Venus. So she's like, okay, I'm just gonna draft stall then and make everybody's lives miserable. So we all have to deal with the stall. Lapis unfortunately has to deal with building stall, which is extremely difficult in draft. But good luck to her the rest of the way, and thank you guys very much for watching to this point. I will actually link Lapis's YouTube in the description. I don't know if she uploaded any more MWPA games, but she definitely did upload a draft analysis video, so definitely check that out if you're interested. She's a very good player and definitely somebody that you can learn a lot more from, probably more than you can learn from me if you watch some of her videos. So thank you guys very much for watching to this point if you did, and I hope to see y'all in another video. Later.